You may.
Great. I have 4 pages of notes and questions. Been doing a lot of thinking since I got this sketch plan the other day. First of all, Julia, I'm glad you clarified what sort of the ask of council was tonight, because I wasn't exactly sure. Because I looked at the note we got from the Planning Commission, and they talk about Section 15 of the Borough Ordinance, and it appears they did 1, 2, and 3, and then number 4 is what we need to do, right? We need to, at some point, talk about whether we vote or something on this sketch plan.
There is no vote. Am I correct, Paul? At this point, it's just a matter of feedback back and forth. There's no action to be taken. This is not the actual preliminary plan application has not been filed, so this is we're in a sketch plan phase. So this is a give and take back and forth. Paul, would that be correct? Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's more or less our personal views on the plan. Okay. So thanks for the presentation. It's very clear, and I'm certainly not an architect. That's way above my pay grade. And I do appreciate the effort and what went into it. When I was looking at the plan, you know, my personal views are shaped by several areas of interest. One is traffic comes to the top. Parking, both the new requirements of any development plus the existing conditions we have in Newtown Borough, which we continually work on. Sort of the fit into the Newtown, and you discussed that, you know, keeping the look and feel of Newtown. Enhancing the downtown area, which you also talked about. Also interested in walkability and bikeability of any development that goes here. Also concerned about open space and how that is incorporated into any plan that'll go here. And then sort of a cluster of things. Building size, the number of residential units, size of those units, and sort of the increase in population. I'll have some questions on those. But really all of that drives my top 2 concerns, which are traffic and parking. And then there's a range of other things that I think I was considering, and that is sort of an impact to borough operations, you know, the impact to our police department, our streets, lights, and properties issues. If it's all public, all private, how is it going to work? And then part of the development, and as we heard on Wednesday at our work session, we actually, as a borough, own part of this development. We own the municipal lot in front of the State Store. So, you know, in one way, shape, or form, that asset that the borough owns comes into play here. And then, as you mentioned up front, you know, there's also the opportunity potentially for an increase in revenue to the borough through any development here. I promise I'll be brief as best I can. So not to redo your presentation, Mr. Smith, but you know, the way I was looking at and thinking about this Stocking Works 2 plan was sort of a then, now, and the future. And you described the way back in 2009 when you were presenting the plan to the community at the Stockburgers showroom. That plan was sort of dominated by an office building complex, kind of like Stocking Works 1, except larger, and then retail, residential, and mixed use, and a parking structure. And I think, as you said, there was a lot of support from the community after that. I think, upon reflection, we had a lot of support because we knew kind of what we were getting. We kind of knew what Stocking Works 1 was. It's part of Newtown. We know it. We kind of get the impact. And it was familiar to us. You know, I think, you know, I liked the plan back then. I also thought it was kind of large, and I was concerned about traffic and parking. Now here in May 2011, when I look at the plan, what jumps out at me more is the 5 residential buildings. And that is something that I think it doesn't exactly fit with what Newtowners think of Newtown. The parking structure also jumps out at me. And then obviously residential, retail and residential on top. you mentioned an ambitious plan, and I think this is a very ambitious plan for Newtown and for this space. I'm just not certain what Newtown is getting out of this, and I'll elaborate in a minute. So some of my biggest questions are, how many residential units are part of this sketch? I've heard numbers being tossed around, but I don't know what the actual you're thinking.
Well, we don't know that. And the reason why is that iterative process and the balancing of we can have more office and less residential. More office creates more traffic but gets you more income. Or we can have more residential, less in traffic, but you don't get as much income. So this is what we're looking for some guidance on, which would the borough prefer.
Okay. The buildings themselves, I didn't realize they were going to be 4 and 5 stories. So it's, I guess, something to consider when we start talking about height restrictions. So the bottom line for me comes down to the hot button issues again for me are sort of how intense a use we're going to have here in terms of utilizing that space and what the impact to the borough is in terms of both parking and traffic impact. I have a lot of detailed questions about the parking structure. How many levels? How many cars per level? If this sketch was developed as is, we would be trading 75 spots that the borough currently owns and maintains. What happens to those spots? There are a lot of questions here, but I guess the bottom line question that I had, and I don't know if you can answer this tonight or not, but will the overall supply of parking be increased to cover the new uses, so to meet requirements, make up for our, sort of lost 75 spaces and the spots behind 10 Center, and meet sort of the current shortfall? So is there a net sort of gain in the economy of parking spaces is one question I have that I've been thinking about. I think the parking structure is something that sort of captures our attention because we've talked about parking structures for a long time because we think that it'll solve our perennial parking issues that we face. From looking at the sketch, I don't know if it does or not. It may do nothing. It may actually worsen our parking situation in town. So I think parking is, for me, a big issue in any development here. And you talked about traffic impact, and the one-way drive through the development is an interesting feature, and but one that I question whether, just from a usability standpoint, will people like it? Will it actually encourage people to go into the development and to park and shop there? I'm not certain. The current state store and beer store works really well because you can sort of drive right up, park in those spots right in front, and get in and out in 5 minutes. Purely from a and again, I'm not a retailer either, so maybe I shouldn't be pontificating on this, but from a pure consumer, I don't know if I'd drive into a parking garage and walk across a bridge to get to the state store and come back out. And that's just So the biggest concerns, again, just to let you know, are the parking and traffic. I really want to underscore that I really like the idea of mixed-use development, and I'm in favor of that. And there's a lot of great things about this plan that I like. I think, again, I was thinking more about, and again, I'm not an architect, but what would I do if I was creating a space here? And what we all love about Newtown is Newtown. And I started thinking about what are some of the quintessential elements of Newtown, like you have. And, those 5 buildings just don't feel like Newtown to me. What I was thinking is, take a quintessential street like Liberty Street, which has mixed kind of houses. You have single family homes, you have twins, you even have a small townhouse condo kind of at the end of the street. You could fit that right into those 5 buildings, that space there. And what else do we like about Newtown? We like about State Street, and you've incorporated those elements into the plan. The mixed use along Center and State Street, I think, are good. I don't know if there's another way to create this plan without a parking garage, which would make sense. Again, I'm not a architect, and my vision is probably limited on this, but I know what I like about Newtown, and this feels just a bit ambitious for us. So I'm glad. Well, I think that. That at least that's my point of view on the development. If we were voting tonight, I probably would not support this sketch. Again, sorry. I do like the idea, and I like the concept, and like you said, it's a balance, and I don't know if we have the balance right. Is where I'm at, and so the other piece, and this might be more for council than for anybody. For you guys, but there's a number of questions about the T&D ordinance that supports this development, and I think we need to be clear about what the new T&D ordinance does or does not support. I had an email over the weekend from a resident, and he had two, I think, good questions, and I know we talked a bit about density at our work session, but I think we owe it to the residents to be really clear about what the T&D offers in terms of the density that we'll allow. And then the other more specific question this resident raised, which was one that I never even considered, is your buildings here, they have green roofs. Are they like LED green kind of?
That was the idea, the green infrastructure of the borough.
With rain garden kind of things? And would that be contributing to the stormwater management aspect of the site?
Well, it helps it, yeah.
Would that be used to count towards open space requirements?
No.
Thank you. So, again, I'm not an architect. I know what I like about Newtown, and I think you're incorporating a lot of that in here. I'm not sure we have the balance right, and I'm concerned that the intensity will impact pretty heavily. It may not solve the parking problems that we currently have, and may raise the traffic impacts that we're experiencing now. So that's where I am. And so I think we need to find a better balance is the bottom line.
Thank you.
Do you wish to respond at all, Alan, to that?
No, this is why we're here, just getting this. The only thing I would point out is when you drive to the liquor store, you're on the same level as the liquor store. The bridge services the upper stories. The liquor store is on the first floor. The parking's on the first floor. Just clarification.
And just so you know, I did use Google Earth to drop Liberty Street onto the site, and it kind of fits. So.